Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time to start my final Read Like a BookTube Friend project. This was a project I did during 2023, and because of extenuating circumstances, I did not finish in 2023. So here we are towards the end of January or whenever this goes up, and I'm finally starting the last month of this project. So Amy from Amy's Bookish Life is the one that I will be reading like for this vlog. I have chosen 3 books and I'm very excited about them, and I think it's going to be such a good time reading like Amy. We do have quite a bit of overlap in our taste, and so choosing books was a little hard because I wanted to make sure that what I was picking really represented her well, but I talked to her, we talked through all of these options, and I feel very confident that these represent Amy's reading. So first off, I have a middle grade because Amy teaches middle grade English and loves middle grade books as well as I do. And so I knew right away I wanted to read The Edge of In-Between by Lorelei Savrin. Number one, it's a middle grade, has a gorgeous cover, and Amy loves this author and actually even had a chance to interview her on her channel. I will link that interview down below, but I'm really excited to read this book. Amy did warn me that it deals heavily with grief, and knowing that I have just recently lost my brother, she's like, you may not want to read this right now, but I do think that it will be cathartic. I know that I'm going to cry. I know that it's going to be a difficult read at times, but I also think that it's going to be wonderful. The Edge of In-Between by Lorelei Savrin is about Lottie. She lives in Vivelle, so it's kind of a fantasy as well. Lottie experiences tragedy, and color is stripped from her heart and from the world around her. Taken in by her reclusive, eccentric uncle, Lottie moves into Forsaken, a vast manor located in the gray wasteland between the land of living and ever after and the land of the dead. There, she discovers more secrets and mysteries than she ever dreamed possible. There's all kinds of things going on. It's a richly imagined, stunning portrait of love and loss, magic and hope that is a true celebration of the strength we all possess to overcome tragedy and the gifts that make life worth living, which just sounds so wonderful. And this is a Secret Garden retelling. I'm so excited to read this book, and I know it's one that Amy has read and absolutely loved. So this is definitely my first choice for Amy. I did have another middle grade originally picked out that is something that she had recommended before, but I decided not to go that route when I watched her book bracket for 2023. And the 2 that I chose with Amy are not ones that actually made it onto her book bracket, but they were ones that were also 5-star reads last year and ones that she really loved. And so the first one that we were pretty confident we were going to do was The Circus Train by Amida Parikh. I know Buddy read this with Destiny, who is another wonderful friend of mine, and Amy and Destiny are kind of best buds, and they both loved this one. And this is a historical fiction, which is also right up my alley. It's a book of the month, which I think is appropriate because Amy and I host a book of the month readathon throughout the year at some point in the year. And this one I just am really excited for. I know Amy and Destiny both really, really loved it. So this is 1938. It's going to be World War II revolving around a circus. I mean, I'm kind of in just based on that alone. Lena has never quite found her place within the circus, even as the daughter of the headlining illusionist. Brilliant and curious Lena, who uses a wheelchair after a childhood bout with polio, yearns for the real-world magic of science and medicine. Her mind is stronger than the limitations placed on her by society. And then her unconventional life takes an exciting turn when she rescues Alexander, an orphan with his own secrets and a mysterious past. I'm just really excited for this one. And I know Amy loved it, so this was an easy pick to put on the pile for her. And then we kind of went back and forth with the last option, but something that Amy really loves in her reading is cozy mysteries. I don't have a ton of cozy mysteries on my shelves. We went with one that's kind of cozy adjacent. It's not cozy in the punny title and maybe the lighthearted feel of some cozies, but it is still pretty lighthearted, I think, and that's Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. There's definitely going to have a cozy vibe to the mystery in here. We follow Vera Wong, who's in her 60s. She comes across as much older in the picture, but I'm pretty sure she's in her late 60s, maybe 70s. She's a woman who runs a tea shop and lives above the tea shop and runs it, comes downstairs one morning to find a dead man in her shop. She takes it upon herself to try to figure out who it is that killed this man. And I think in the process gets to know a lot of her customers a lot better, kind of becomes like a mother figure to them. Both The Circus Train and Vera Wong are also on my recommendations cart for this year. And this is the #1 pick on my on the Goodreads list where people can vote for which one I should prioritize. This one is #1. So I'm really thrilled to be getting it read early on in the year. And I know many of you are thrilled that I'll be reading it as well. And I just think a fun mystery is also something that I enjoy. So I'm just really excited about all 3 of these choices to read like Amy. I think I'm going to have a really good time with these books. And what a wonderful way to wrap up this series that I've been doing, even though it's a little bit late. So stay tuned. I'll come back when I have finished one of them and let you know my thoughts. Hey, I'm here to check in actually on 2 of Amy's books. And I loved both of them. I'm so glad that I'm ending with Amy because so far it has been a huge, huge hit. So the first one that I read for reading like Amy was The Circus Train. This was a lovely story. I liked so much about this. I even messaged Amy and Destiny on Voxer because I know that they had buddy read this together. And I was like, guys, I'm halfway through and I'm absolutely loving this book. I'm absolutely loving it. We follow our main girl, Lena, who has polio, which I think is so interesting. It takes place during World War II, and the war is a part of the story, but really we're following Lena as she grows up and what it's like for her to live as part of the circus. Her father is the head illusionist, the lead illusionist with this circus troupe that is traveling through Europe in the midst of World War II. And Lena is beloved by the other circus people, but also not really included by the other kids. She kind of does her own thing. There are a lot of adults that love her and help care for her in a way, but she feels really, really lonely. And then one day, this boy, a couple years older than her, shows up. She finds him in the meal train car, the car where they eat or where the kitchens are or something. Passed out on the floor, and she tries to take care of him and she kind of falls out of her chair. And this boy ends up being somebody who stays with the circus troupe. His parents, he's orphaned, he's Jewish, and so the circus decides to keep him and protect him. He has very Aryan looks, like blonde hair, blue eyes, and so it's very easy for him to just kind of stay with the circus. Actually, he starts interning basically with Lena's dad, and they become friends. But there are some twists and turns along the way. As they're getting older, Lena and Alexander's friendship really deepens and becomes something that's so special to them, leads into a bit of romance. And that's the one thing that if I had to pick one thing that I didn't like about this, I think the romance part started when Lena was too young. She was only 12. And I know times were a little different back then, but literally she's 12. And they, at one point, kind of snuck out, had champagne, and ended up falling asleep in one of the food car again and getting caught the next day, and everybody was mad at them. But I'm like, she's 12. Why? Yeah, I don't know. That felt a little bit weird to me. But then we follow, lots of things happen. The war is happening. People get arrested. There's a shady side of things with this circus. And I just was here for it. I loved the found family aspect so much. Actually, there comes a part later in the story where we're not with the train anymore. Lena and Alexander things have happened, and we kind of follow them through. I don't want to give any spoilers, but things have happened, and we follow them through years and years. So then even into adulthood, and it's a really beautiful story. It's a really beautiful story. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm so glad that I read it. It was a really good one. And then the other, I'm also giving 4.5 stars to Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This one just came at the right time. I laughed out loud multiple times. I actually started a Goodreads list for books that make me laugh because I can never remember later which ones make me laugh, but this one for sure made me laugh out loud. Vera herself is quite a character. So Vera owns a tea shop and she lives above the tea shop. She's an older woman. It portrays her in the book as elderly. I don't know how old she actually is. that's maybe why one of the things that made me dock half a star. It didn't bother me too much, but they were portraying her as, I don't know if they ever said her age, but they made her feel frail and elderly, but I don't think she's quite that old. Anyway, Chinese mama, who is hovering mom. It's just her and her grown son, who she texts multiple times every day. Don't forget to drink your water. Have you found yourself a nice woman? Don't stay in bed too long. The early bird gets the worm. Like, texts her son constantly, and he doesn't always respond. And she complains with some other Chinese folks in Chinatown, where her tea shop is, about the difference between Chinese kids that have grown up in America and when they were younger, and how they showed respect and honor to their elders and their parents in particular. So that was a big part of the beginning. But then one day Vera comes downstairs and there's a dead man on the floor of her tea shop. She decides she is going to help out the police, and she cleans up everything except around the area. She outlines the body in a Sharpie, and she takes something away from the body that she doesn't tell the police about. The police come, and she has all of these CSI type show storylines in her brain, and the police do not respond that way. And she is devastated. She's like, what? These police are not doing their job. I'm going to take it upon myself to discover the murderer. Killers always come back to the scene of the crime. So she is convinced that over the next couple of days, everybody that comes to her tea shop is a suspect in this murder. A bunch of people come who actually do have connections to the body, and she is determined to figure out who they are. Why are they lying about their story? Like, what's going on? Who is the one that actually killed this man? And so Vera becomes a little undercover. She becomes a detective, but she's not subtle about it. She's like, okay, you guys are my suspects. Let's all have dinner. We're going to figure out who did this. And in the process, this group of people that she's kind of brought together becomes another found family. This is another found family type of story. And it really was heartwarming. It was lighthearted. I laughed out loud. I just absolutely loved Vera, but I also rolled my eyes at her because I'm like, oh, Vera, you're just a little naive about some things, but also super wise about some things, and also pushy, and like wormed her way into relationships with people, was super bossy with people. Like, she just was quite the character, quite an unforgettable character. And I appreciate that when I'm reading a book. So I really enjoyed this. We do find out what happened and all of that. And I liked the ride. I was here for the ride. So I loved reading Like Amy so far this month. It's been fantastic. So I have one left. I'll hop back on when I finish that one. I have started it, but I'm not done with it yet. All right, I have completed my third Read Like Amy book, The Edge of In-Between by Lorelei Savern. I am kind of sad to say that I didn't like this one as much as I hoped or expected to. I follow a young girl named Lottie. It's kind of a Secret Garden retelling in a way. But in the beginning of the book, we meet Lottie and her parents and their lovely relationship that they have. And then an accident happens and her parents pass away very early on in the book. In this world, there is magic, and it's kind of related to like a child's imagination. And then there are these people that are called living gray. They have lost their color. And when Lottie's parents pass, Lottie immediately turns into a living gray. She loses all of her color. And then from there, she is sent to a long lost relative that she thought was passed, and he lives in this in-between. It kind of goes from there, just discovering what it is that makes people turn gray and how to find your color. Is it only for children? She discovers this garden, as happens in the Secret Garden, and it kind of changes things. She discovers a long lost cousin that she didn't know existed, all of these things that are very similar to the Secret Garden. I don't know. I didn't really get along with the writing. I felt like it was a little too flowery for me. It wasn't quite as straightforward as I normally like. I like beautiful writing, but when it takes me out of the story, I don't get along with it. And I don't know if this one was just the writing style that I really preferred. There were times that I just was like, what are you saying? It got a little too maybe philosophical or whatever. And I didn't love that about it. So it just wasn't for me. Also, the dealing with grief is a huge part of this. Obviously, her losing her parents and what happens in the afterlife. And in this story, there's this in between where there are ghosts, and she is determined to find the ghosts of her parents in the in between because they haven't kind of like crossed over. I forget what they call ever after. And then the manor that she moves into is called the Forsaken. I thought the Secret Garden retelling parts were very cool. I did enjoy those. The distant uncle, the secret cousin that she didn't know about, the garden, kind of bringing the garden back to life and how does that happen. And then I enjoyed also the metaphorical aspect of being a living gray and having lost your color because of grief in a lot of ways, but then is it possible to regain that color in your life? And I did enjoy aspects of that, but overall, the story got a little heavy-handed for me and I got a little lost in it at times. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was my least favorite of the 3 books that I read from Amy, and I'm probably not going to keep it on my shelves, even though it is a really beautiful cover. I don't think it's one that I would revisit, and I'm kind of bummed about that because I was very, very hopeful. I've been really looking forward to this one. So this is my least favorite of the 3. Oh, it's really tough to choose between The Circus Train and Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers because they're just so very different. I don't know. I think I would put this one as my second favorite, Vera Wong, because I just really loved The Circus Train. I loved in both of these the found family aspect. But this one, Vera Wong, was laugh out loud funny and just so fun. And then this one was not funny, but it was very interesting. I liked the polio aspect of it. I liked learning about this girl and the scope of time that we covered. And I love a World War II. I still do love a World War II historical fiction. And even though the war was kind of like more of a minor, or it was still present for sure, but yeah, I just really enjoyed this one the most. So this one was definitely my favorite, and then Vera Wong, and then In the Land of In Between. And that completes my last Read Like a BookTube Friend. Here we are towards the end of February now, and finally I'm finishing this project that I started last year. It's understandable. I'm okay with it, but I am glad to be finished. But also it was such a cool project. And I think I will at some point sit down and make a couple notes to myself about like, what did I learn? Who stood out to me the most as maybe reading differently or similarly. Yeah, it'll be fun to just kind of reflect on that a little bit. And I will hopefully do that in a video with you at some point in the relatively near future. We'll see. If not, it might just be for my patrons. I don't know. I haven't thought through that enough, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Have you read any of these? Did you feel similarly to me in them? Are you sad to see the end of Read Like a BookTube Friend project? I kind of am, but I'm also kind of glad. So let's chat down in the comments. I always love talking with you down there, and that is going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.